So, you want to be a real estate investor, but where do you start? How do you know what information and sources to trust? That's where I come in. I'm Jonny Cattani, and this is the Investor Relations Real Estate Podcast. Hey guys, real quick, before we start, go to investwithcattani.com and download my free ebook, Is Commercial Real Estate Recession Proof? Now to today's show.
What's up, guys? TGIF, happy Friday. Welcome to another episode of Friday Follow-Up here on the Investor Relations Real Estate Podcast. I am your gracious host, Jonny Cattani, and we made it through another week. It's been amazing. If you are an avid listener, you know that I am here in Orlando. If you're watching this, you can clearly see I'm not in my office. I'm in a hotel room here in Orlando, Florida. I would say sunny Orlando, Florida, but it's monsoon season and there is a monster thunderstorm outside. Pretty much rains every evening, which is just standard for this area, and pretty nice actually. Cools it down a little bit. And I actually do enjoy summer thunderstorms. But anyway, that's not what this episode is about. Like I said, here in Orlando, I'm here for a self-storage academy. Those of you in the industry, specifically if you're in self-storage, should know the name Scott Myers. He's kind of the name in self-storage education. Has been teaching self-storage, I think, for, 15, at least 10 years. I know he's been in the industry close to 20 years in terms of self-storage alone. Anyway, here for a 3-day academy, basically to learn the ins and outs of self-storage, like I talked about last week, to really double down on my knowledge and hopefully flatten my learning curve, expedite the process, hopefully start doing some deals soon. So this is today. I'm recording this on Thursday. Obviously, you're listening on Friday. Today is day 1. By the time you're listening to this, I'll be in the middle of day 2. Today was awesome. Met some great people. There's some great people in the class. Obviously, Scott and his team are awesome. And really just wanted to, this is probably going to be short and sweet. I think I've said that before. It ends up going over whatever short and sweet is. But essentially, really just want to talk about self-storage as a whole. However you view things economically, you may think we're already in a recession or that it's coming. Personally, I think we're in it already. We just don't realize it. Inflation report just came out last month. We had 9.1%. If you really pay attention to economics, you know that that's not a real figure. The data that the government uses to track inflation is their own data, so they can manipulate it however they want. If you're really paying attention, we're well into 12. You could make an argument for 15%, but we're honestly more like 12% inflation, and we have been for a little while. They're not going to tell you that. It also depends where you look, what data you use, but we are in double-digit inflation. This is a very, very high inflationary environment, so much so that in 2 weeks, well, less than 2 weeks, about 10 days, the Fed has another meeting, and there's talk of them potentially raising interest rates a whole point. So they've been going 75 basis points, 0.75% basically for the last 3 raises. We're talking about this next one being their last 0.75% raise, and then going to 50 basis points, 50 bips, 0.5 raise. But actually the tables have turned, and now they're discussing possibly doing a whole point raise. So basically 1 whole percentage raise, which is insane from an inflationary standpoint in the sense that we've never seen this before. So it's crazy to hear. Again, I've said this, don't listen to mainstream media if you want to really know what's happening, right? Take it with a shaker of salt if you're using mainstream. Go do your own research. Like I said, we are in a very high inflationary environment, but you guys, this is not the end of the world. This is an economic cycle. Our economy goes through these cycles. This is normal. If you learned anything from '08, which I know if you're my age, I'm almost 32, we weren't really in a position to truly understand what's happening, although there are older millennials who very much do understand what's happening. If you are not in a position to capitalize on this, or if this affects you, please, please, please remember that this is going to happen again in another 10 to 12 years. So set yourself up over the course of this next 10 to 12 years so that when an inflation when a recession happens, you don't see it as a negative, you see it as an opportunity, because those who understand what's happening, the 1%, the institutions, my mentors, people in the industry who are well established, they are setting themselves up for the opportunity that is coming. Now, personally, I don't think it's going to be a massive dip from a real estate standpoint. Obviously, we don't know that for fact, but there's a lot of data that you can use that will back that up. Essentially, what I think is going to happen, and you've heard me talk about with some of my guests, is basically there's going to be some buying opportunities for sure. Some assets are going to be distressed. It's not going to be at the level that we saw in '08. That was more on the residential side anyway. Commercial definitely took a hit for sure. We're not going to see that, but there are going to be some distressed assets, some more opportunities. I think what you're going to see, and so this is what I want to talk about. I want to talk about self-storage. So I'm going to dial this in right here to self-storage. 70% of all self-storage is still mom and pop owned. Mom and pop basically means one single owner operator. It's all they have. And meaning they don't have a portfolio, they just have the one, maybe two locations, probably gonna most likely be in the same town. And they may operate themselves. So essentially what you're going to see is you're going to see some opportunities where you have people who were on the verge of wanting to get out anyway, whether that's retirement, could be personal reasons, family stuff, what have you, where they're starting to see what's happening and they don't want to go through another recession, in the sense that, if you don't start getting out of these positions, these assets in the next 6, 12, 18 months tops, maybe, I could be wrong there, but in 18 months, I think we'll really be in it. If you don't start getting out and unwinding some of these positions soon, then you're going to end up having to wait for it to come back out. And that could be anywhere from 2 to 3 to 5 to 7 years. And so you're going to see a lot of opportunity in self-storage where you're going to have these mom and pop owners who are like, I don't want to wait another 5, potentially 7 years. And they're going to start getting out now. And it's going to create an opportunity for those of us who are ready to get in and take over these facilities to jump into it. So if you're an investor, be ready. I know that investor sentiment is potentially shifting. It's for obviously very sound logic, especially if you've been through 1 or 2 or 3 of these economic cycles. You know that in the beginning you want to wait. You just want to kind of wait and see what's going to happen, right? Because you're not sure what's going to lead in terms of, right, like '08, housing led the crisis. This time, housing is not going to be the leader. There's going to be something else potentially, so you're waiting, right? But you need to understand that there are people who are not waiting. Clearly, interest rates are only going up. And so right now, you have people who are capitalizing. They're moving very quickly to get deals going. Obviously, you want to make sure that anyone you're investing with or partnering with and you want to be able to back this up and do your own due diligence, but make sure they're using very conservative underwriting. Interest rates right now are in the high 5s, maybe 6. So conservatively, they should be stress testing this to 7, 8% for their interest rate. You know, the reason that I love self-storage, you guys, is because if you look at charts during recessions, this asset class is very recession resistant. I'm not saying recession proof, but it's recession resistant in the sense that if people are downsizing, they don't want to get rid of their stuff. They need somewhere to put it, storage. This asset class is set up very well, and that's why I like it so much for this economic downturn. You saw what happened if you've been paying attention when the pandemic hit. Prices went through the roof for self-storage. There wasn't enough of it. Development is going up like crazy right now. And one sort of downside from an investor standpoint of a recession, there are multiple downsides, of course. Nobody likes to see a recession. Nobody wants to see anyone lose anything, but it's an economic cycle. It has to happen. Is development. Development is eventually going to dry up, not just for self-storage, but for everything, because development is risky, especially from a lending standpoint, right? Even in something like self-storage that has a proven model, even with a proven developer, banks are just going to sit and wait and see what happens, right? They're making money with their lending. They don't need to keep lending out money, even with these higher interest rates, especially in a risky environment, which is what an inflation, or I keep saying inflation, what a recession brings is a risky environment. And so they're just going to wait and see what happens. And so what you're seeing right now is developers just going in. For instance, some of the people here, part of Scott Meyer's team, I was talking to his head of, basically the COO. His COO, she is in charge of all construction project management. Basically, they have 9 development deals going right now. That, even in a booming market, is pretty crazy. 9 development projects. But you're seeing a huge burst of it right now because eventually banks are going to stop lending on development. So this is what presents that opportunity. Once development dries up, that's it. Whatever's out there in terms of self-storage facilities is all you're going to be able to capitalize on, which is good for the sellers in the sense that, you know, they know that there's no new development. But also from a buying standpoint, that's good because, you know, when you go into a market to start acquiring properties, you don't have to worry that other projects are in the pipeline from other operators or developers. And so if you're an investor, you know, listen, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a CPA, I'm not licensed to give advice. So by no means is any of this advice, but you should look at the returns. You know, Mark Similichap has awesome reports. You can compare self-storage even to the S&P 500. It's outdoing it over the last 10 years. That's for sure going to happen over the next 3 to 5 years in terms of returns, in terms of stability. So, you know, I love it. I know you guys have heard me talk to death about it. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm doing this. So I really think it's something you guys should look at from an investment standpoint. Obviously, feel free to reach out. Happy to answer any questions. I do have Scott Myers actually coming up as a guest. In a month from now, he's scheduled, which means you guys probably won't hear it for probably be a couple months before you hear it. However, I may push that one to the front just because I am such a huge advocate for it. And, you know, I really want to start spreading the awareness. Again, nothing against the other asset classes. Listen, multifamily, you're talking about housing. People literally have to have, it's a human necessity. So it makes perfect sense. However, you know, there's some different things. So think about someone who's going to completely leave the rental market. Obviously can't buy, which is probably why they're a renter, or doesn't want to buy anyway. Definitely not going to buy in this. And maybe they move back home. Guess what? They have a whole apartment of stuff, of furnishings that they need somewhere to put if they're moving back with their parents, or perhaps they're moving in with a significant other, or combining forces with a friend group. And, you know, a bunch of people who lived on their own are going to combine and, you know, live in a house. Time that apartment, you're talking about furniture and stuff that needs to go somewhere. Guess where it goes, guys? It goes into storage units. We live in America. People do not get rid of their stuff. So live in the land of abundance. There'll be lots of abundance. So give it a look. That's what I really want to talk about today. I'll have more to report on next week after I've gone through this whole thing. But anyways, as always, thank you guys for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Please go rate and review the podcast. Follow us on social media. Sorry, it's 7 p.m. here in Florida, and I've been having my brain just stuffed full of information all day. So brain function is losing capacity in real time. So I'm gonna sign off now. Thank you guys for listening. Have a good one. See you next time.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching today's episode. I hope you really enjoyed it. Listen, I know it's cliche and you hear it all the time, but please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you know when the next video is coming out. Even though this is technically a daily podcast, you know it's coming out the next day. We have a ton of content coming your way. So please like and subscribe. It helps a ton. Leave comments. Would love to know what you guys think. And we will see you on the next one. Thanks so much.